everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Future Focused CXOs. Today, we have a very exciting guest, Angila Chapman. She's the Chief Financial Officer for University of Michigan. She heads the Alumni department. So without any further delay, let me welcome Angela to the podcast. Hi, Angela. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Hello, and thank you for having me today. Very much looking forward to this conversation. As Jay mentioned, I am the Chief Financial Officer, Vice President of the Alumni Association, and have been with the association for about 11 years and 26 years in Michigan in total. So it's been quite a journey for me here at Michigan.
Okay. So I think the first very important question, Angela, that comes to us, and based on our past conversation, is definitely that you have pivoted your career and experience towards becoming a chief financial officer. And I would really love to understand that journey. And I'm sure our audience would love to do that.
So right out of college, I actually had my background is in accounting information systems and did my internship at Michigan Medicine. It used to be called University of Michigan Health System. Did my internship right there in the finance department. And then as graduation came, they offered me a position and I accepted. And from there, I started off my career as just a general accountant and moved myself up fairly quickly into the management of the accounting department, where I oversaw running the financials for the University of Michigan Health System and doing the audits and whatnot each year. I had then moved on to the budgeting and finance department after that position in accounting. And then from there, I moved on into the finance IT department, where I ended my career there at Michigan Medicine and did some good work within the finance IT group of implementing some software. And just my background from accounting information systems, it kind of just was a perfect fit with that role. And just being at the university for so many years, I really understood the infrastructure of the accounting structure of it all. And obviously knew the accounting and the budgeting side. So it was really a natural fit for me to just move on into that as a management for finance. So it's been a journey from there. From the Michigan Medicine, I decided to take a change in my career and look for something different. And that's when I had applied over to the Alumni Association. And so, like I said, I've been here for 15 years and I oversee a lot of the operations and the finances, as well as the technology and a little bit of the operational components of the organization. And it's been a great journey for me because I've been able to understand a business, how businesses ran versus just sitting in the finance department. And so it's given me a lot of opportunities over this last 15 years here of just really understanding how to run a business. And which has then obviously led to my role as the Chief Financial Officer.
So can you tell me a little bit about what's different from how an alumni association works versus other areas of the health systems and things like that? Because those are very different types of organizations. So what sort of crossover? I would just love to hear a little bit about how those were different for you and what sort of experience you had that allowed you to go, this is the right way to go for me.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Michigan is huge. There's over 30,000 employees here at the university. And so just being such a big institution provides a lot of different opportunities for people to move around. And finance is everywhere in any organization. But my experience in the medicine, IT area, and finance area was really just pulling up the financial statements of how was the health system performing. But the university is broken into the academic side, the health system side, and then there's the research institution side of it all. And so those are three different areas. And the Alumni Association, where I'm at now, is actually an affiliation of the university. And so it is a different organization, but all of these organizations are nonprofit, and that's really where my expertise lies.
I'm sure you guys have gone through a lot of digital transformations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And especially COVID accelerated everything, as we know, right? So give us an example of some digital transformation that you went through, successfully completed it, the challenges you faced. And I think most people don't talk about is where did you fail and where did you pivot? Because that's really where the big learning comes in, right?
Yeah, this is a great question. And yes, everybody does have some failures in their careers. One of the things that was a challenge for myself was one of the projects here at the Alumni Association. So we went through a transformation about 7-8 years ago. We wanted to really change how we were engaging with alumni. And so not just engage, so at that time we were just really engaging our members of the association. And then we made a pivotal change to engage all of the alumni. And so there's currently 670,000 Michigan alumni that we try to reach to engage. So very large organization. And one of the projects that came out of that transformation was the database CRM tool, which is the customer management tool, was not going to work for what we needed to do and where we were going to grow. And so we quickly had to find a new solution. And we went from our existing CRM tool to Salesforce, which is a wonderful product. But we were challenged to do this in 6 months. And so take one database, unplug it from the wall, and plug the next one in within 6 months. And that was a very aggressive timeline. We did have some consultants to help with the lift, but they are very complex. And we got behind on the project mostly because of the data integration complexity of it. But we were able to actually still complete the project within 7 months. So that was pretty good, even in my mind. But
Yeah.
it was difficult for me personally to not hit that deadline because I'm very detail oriented. I like to know what's happening when it's coming, and I like to meet the deadlines. So that was an area that a little challenging moment in my career that I just had to accept and then move on and figure out what are the solutions to get there and get it done. It was a fun ride, I can say that.
Okay.
A 7-month Salesforce transformation with multiple integrations could be the opposite of fun.
Yeah, I will admit there was a lot of really long hours and nights and weekends with not just me, but the whole team, where it was pretty crazy.
And the question I really have for you was that when you go through such digital transformation, it's more than the technology, it is always the people and the process, right?
Yeah.
That requires transformation. So during these 6 months, did you actually go through a business process optimization, try to adopt an industry standard process? And honestly, there is nothing off the shelf that you can come and plug, right? It's always the context of your organization's process, which you need to blend into. So give us some insight into how that journey was.
Yeah, that's a great question as well. And we did a little bit of both. We definitely did have to look at all of our current business processes because we went in with not wanting any customizations. Of course, that's the goal.
Of course.
But business doesn't always fit that product. But we unfortunately did have some complex customizations. We have over the years have had to undo them, which has been wonderful. So the change management was also probably actually the second hardest part of the project because we were so used to doing it one way. And for so many years, decades on this one platform, that it was really hard to get people to change the business of why we should change and really trying to sell why the change is important versus the customization, which most people don't care about customizations because they just want it the way they want it. But we did go through that and we didn't always win the battle. So then we ended up with customizations, but we really did go into the project to have minimal customizations for that and really push the organization to change, which is always very hard in any implementation.
So I guess the thought on that, the change management sometimes is a carryover. 7 months to do the technical and get to launch, but then post that, it's okay, now use it. Now enjoy it. Now see the fruits of it. And what was some of the exciting things that you saw in the months following? What sort of delightful surprises did you get once you got through the initial drama of change management that it can be?
Yeah, we were able to add on other products to Salesforce. That's one of the great things about Salesforce. We were able to add on other products. So we quickly implemented Marketing Cloud as our tool. And so the data integration between the two systems were just pivotal for us versus taking a file from one system and then uploading it into another system. This was all just built right in. So that was phenomenal. That saved a lot of resources, obviously. And we also relaunched a website post our implementation. It went parallel at one point, but then we had to tie everything in on the back end of the website. So we were running parallel for that project as well. But the whole relaunch of everything from the branding perspective of it with the website, the Marketing Cloud, and then the Salesforce was fantastic. And we had a pretty nice event system that we didn't have before. So we were able to track engagement and whatnot. So we really changed a lot of things that we weren't able to do, which is why we really had to move off of the current platform that we were on.
See, you spoke about having 670,000 alumni, right? So that's a huge number. You're definitely capturing a lot of data. And recently with ChatGPT and the amount of emphasis that is there on AI, right? And for all the CXOs out there, what's keeping them awake is what am I doing about AI for my organization? How do I remain relevant, right? How do I leverage it more and more? Tell us, what are you guys doing as data strategy, AI strategy? Where is it headed?
Yeah, the university is doing a lot of really good work on that from their perspective for university-wide. But from the Alumni Association, our team is looking at different ways to use that with our data analytics. So we have a really robust analytics tool that we also added on down the road as well onto Salesforce. And we're looking into ways of how to pull that data and use more of the AI, looking at all that data versus writing queries and looking at reports and whatnot. But how can we plug it in for the AI side of it and start to ask the questions that we're looking for? How is best to engage people the age 30 to 40? And hopefully the data will come out. That would be the goal. But those are just some of the things we're scratching the surface on right now on what would that look like and how would we move forward with something like that? More from an internal perspective, obviously.
And are you looking at it as a finance person? You're always watching what happens on the checkbook side of things. How are you looking at it from a risk, cybersecurity risk, or concern on that side?
Yes, definitely lots of risk there. And we are always crossing our T's and dotting our I's on that. So we always worry about patches that come through our software, because patches are sometimes where you see little weaknesses come through and you don't catch them until something happens. So we have a pretty robust testing process to make sure that we have good security around those types of things. So we do pretty good about staying on top of those things, but it's something top of mind with everything else going out there right now in the technology world. It's really hard to stay on top of, but we do our best.
So how do you manage keeping up on not just AI, but all the other industry trends around scholastic and alumni engagement and other things like that? So as a CXO, how do you stay in front of all of that or get your team to do the same?
Yeah, I have obviously my technology team. They focus mostly on the technology side. And then the finance team's the finance side of it. But when you pull the two together, it works well. But some of the networking that we do is really important. So I'm a part of another chief financial officers for other alumni associations throughout other universities. And once a year we get together and we share stories and whatnot. So that's a phenomenal way to network. And then on IT side of things, the university has a huge IT department as well. So we stay very connected with them, but also just learning what's going out there in the landscape. Salesforce obviously has a ton of really good resources out there in conferences, networking. I actually find networking to be the most powerful thing. Conferences are great, but you get more out of networking at conferences, in my opinion, than the content that you get there. You might get some ideas, but you're better off talking to the person next to you on how they're doing that idea. I just feel like networking is the most powerful thing on how to keep things top of mind and understanding what is going on and what are the trends coming, other than reading and podcasts and all these wonderful things that you also do. But networking, I think, is really powerful.
One thing comes to my mind, Angela, is that for all of us, mentorship has played a significant role of where we are. And I'm sure it is the same for you. So would you like to talk about your mentorship journey and what specifically would you do, or would you advise someone to acquire more mentors, get into all of that space?
Yes, mentorship would be the next most important thing between networking, in my opinion. My journey here at Michigan has been phenomenal. I think I'm just blessed. I don't have a bad experience really from any of my supervisors since I've been here at Michigan. And honestly, they've been more impactful in my life, not just from a professional perspective, but from a personal as well. When I started off my career here, I had a supervisor that really believed in me. And obviously I was young and hungry and just wanted to learn as fast as I possibly could, and was always constantly in his office asking what I needed to do next. And he believed in me and would just keep giving me things. And that's how I grew very fast. Then he left. I moved up to the management role that he was in at the time. And then I was reporting to the chief financial officer. And at that time, she took me around to every meeting. I feel like every meeting she was in, I feel like I was in, and just providing the growth opportunities that she gave me just by sitting at the table with other chiefs there at Michigan Medicine, who's running the hospital. I was literally just a sponge sitting there. I don't think she really realized that I was a shadow of her. I don't think that was the intent, but I just learned so much from her, just literally shadowing her for a couple of years. And that was when she then asked me to move over to the finance budgeting, or the budgeting and forecasting department. And then she asked me to move on to the IT department. We had a really good relationship, still stay connected with her today. And actually my prior boss as well, the person that hired me at Michigan. So I think it's important to really stay connected to the people that you work with and or for, because you might need them in the future. Even if you maybe want to make a career change, or you have an issue at work you want to talk to somebody about, you always have that person that you could trust to go back to. And so I just think that's a great way to grow. And all of my supervisors that I've had here at Michigan have always allowed me to grow and help me grow. And I'm a very upfront person. I literally will go in there and say, what do I need to work on? Give me something. Because even though I don't like negative feedback, I don't like the negative stuff, but I want to hear it because otherwise I'm not going to grow. So I think it's important to be honest with yourself and ask those hard questions for whoever's supervising you or your peers on how you could improve, because that's one way you're going to grow and grow quickly.
A lot of good insights. Steve, any other question comes to your mind?
Yeah, I would say, how do you approach mentoring now that you're in the leadership position?
Yes.
How do you approach that with the rest of your staff or those around?
Well, I meet with my staff directly, obviously, on a weekly basis, but we do provide time to talk about professional development. So actually, for our organization, we have a policy that is a no meeting Friday, which is absolutely fantastic. And it's a time that we ask staff to at least spend half of their day on Friday thinking about their career and what does that look like. And then we also have these quarterly check-ins where we come back and we say, okay, what are you working on? What things do you feel like you need to improve on? And having those deliberate conversations with your staff members. We do that here at the association. We've been doing it for years. We unfortunately see people leave, but they're always for better opportunities. And it's because they're growing while they're here. And I just think that's really important in today's world. One of the things I will say that being here at Michigan, I have an education and I went to college and all that, but I've learned by being on the job. It's all skills, it's experience, it's learning from your mistakes and trying to teach people those things, I think is my job at this point, and making them step up and be leaders and trying to give them that advice.
Very cool. It's just hearing you talk, you were actively chasing your mentor and you're actively pursuing the mentees. And I think that's one of the real keys, the intentionality required on both sides to make good mentorship happen. And I love the idea that your boss had you sitting in the room and always had a big belief that proximity matters when it comes to helping build credibility. And if you sat in a room with all these executives for 2 years, they would just know you to be there. So when an opportunity comes up, you're one of the first they think of because you've been there every week for 2 years, right?
Yeah,
So,
great opportunities for sure.
my last question for you is, what's the result of all of that transformation towards engaging the 670,000? What's changed since that's happened over the last few years?
Toss the pandemic in there, lots of things have changed, right? We used to do a lot of in-person events and we were able to quickly pivot with the pandemic to go virtual. We did a few things. We dabbled with some of the virtual things with different platforms, but really we were able to just take off with it. And that's been significant. We're engaging a lot more people because they can jump on Zooms like we're doing today to have these types of conversations. And the other thing that we're able to do is with all that data that we have in our database is we're able to deliver engagement based on how people are engaging today. So we can target them knowing what their behaviors are and what they're looking for. And so that's pretty pivotal in just today's world these days. AI is probably going to even take it farther. Who knows what will happen there? But I think that's one of the big things that have changed in our association from an engagement perspective of really using the tools to try to find out and understand who all of these alumni are and how do we engage them in ways that they want to be engaged.
Angela, thank you again. This was very interesting conversation with you.